Welcome back to the second day of the International Virtual Conference on Cultural Studies. Seeing you all again makes us happy. I sincerely hope that you all had a great day yesterday. Once again, we welcome you all. Culture is the intersection of people and life. It's how we deal with life, love, death, birth, thought, character, disappointment, and all of that is expressed in culture. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the speaker, Lieutenant Dr. Rasmileka Sethi, who is an Associate Professor at the International Institution of Education. We are incredibly fortunate to have you in this session, ma'am. I kindly request you to take over the session, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, madam. Uh, Very good morning to all of you. So how many participants today? 27 for us or 26? Madam?
Good morning, ma'am. Some are ready to participate.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So today's topic was your multiculturalism in educational institutions. Multiculturalism in educational institutions. So, before starting the multiculturalism in educational institutions, so we should discuss on what is culture, what is the relationship between education and culture, and what is the place of multiculturalism in the educational institutions, not only in a professional institutions but also in all the institutions. That means commonly I can say the educational institutions as a whole. So from the beginning, I can tell you one thing that Sha Vidya Ya Bimuktai. Life is eternal through learning. So every time, every time is for us for learning. So that is why learning is a continuous process. So, what is the relationship between the education and culture, and what do you mean by culture? So, culture, as we understand that the man-made social organization, which includes both the man-made, which includes both the material and also non-material. So, material culture, material culture is basically the man-made culture or man-made with the culture which is made by the man. So that includes all kinds of man-made objects, like man-made, every kind of man-made objects, and also it's includes weapons like clothing, like shelter, like machines, and even everything what is man-made, so that is considered as the material culture. And also non-material culture includes your all the ideals, ideologies, thoughts, and values, attitudes, and that influence human behavior and individual includes the spiritual civilization. So language, like language, literature, and your custom, your tradition, art, music, your dance, drama, even religion, and also morality, law, and government. All these are the non-material culture. So both material and non-material culture is included here in the specifically culture. So now come to the education and the culture. Both are interrelated to each other. So both are interrelated to each other. So it is very much imperative and it is very much important to discuss about the objectives and importance of the multicultural program, and also the roles and duties of the various personnel involved in the responsibilities, or various personnel involved in the educational process, and also activities during the cultural program. So, education is a very much wider concept and which includes the formal, informal, and non-formal. So, the formal education is organized one. All we understand that is the formal means it is organized one and which is undertaken in the schools, and informal means outside of the classroom setup. So the major purpose of the schooling are the transmission of school knowledge and socialization, both knowledge and socialization, and culture. And I said that education are interlinked to each other and correlated to each other and significantly related to each other as an instrument of the culture. Education transmits the culture from one generation to another one, and also it contributes its stabilization. On the other hand, it also contributes towards the cultural renewal, or I can say cultural refinement. Cultural refinement. So, cultural refinement, um, can come it can come from the practice of the culture or various kinds of culture. So after practicing the refinement in one culture, it will come. But here the question comes: what is multiculturalism? So multiculturalism, the basic characteristics of human society, or I can say the Indian society, the scope for the dialogue among different cultures and subcultures has increased very tremendously because of the rapid, advances in the means of transport and communication. The world is fast becoming a global village. So now globalization is coming. So the world is, I said that the world is fast becoming a global village, and in fact, the whole world has started entering our living, so that is our living rooms through the virtual mode. So this is a very good example perhaps that we got connected to each other. Thus every individual today gets enough exposure to other cultures, nearby culture or faraway culture. So the best example, what I said, this is the best example of um, sharing the thoughts and ideas. So that also it is coming under culture. So people even migrated from the country to another country, because of the economic reasons, and sometimes because of some other reasons also, and maybe the social reasons, maybe the political conflicts, or social conflicts leading to oppression and persecution of the minority groups. So as a result of three factors, that is economic, social, and political, many countries which were earlier monocultural entities, so have now become the multicultural. So countries like the United States, Canada, and Australia and Britain have people from large number of countries from all continents. The educational system has responded, to the phenomenon of the multiculturalism by introducing the multicultural education in educational institutions. Multicultural educations in educational institutions. So here the main objective of the multicultural education is to enable the students, is enable to the learners to understand and uh, appreciate all those cultures. So that means the students will get the opportunity to understand the various kinds of culture, and also uh, it will appreciate the students will appreciate, or children will appreciate, or the learners will appreciate all those cultures which form the part of their environment. So contexting to this line, the reports in its report entitled learning the treasure within. So the International Commission on Education for the 21st century is popularly known as Delors Commission. If you know this, it's well and good. If you're interested, so you can go through what Delors Commission says. So it emphasized learning to live together. Now the time has come that even NEP 2020 speaks about learning to live together. So learning to live together is the most important pillar of the learning, and also proposes a holistic and integrated vision of education. So based on the paradigms of lifelong learning, what is that lifelong learning, and the four pillars of learning, that is learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together to enable the students to learn to live together. It is very much essential to reorient the school curricula so as to include content appropriate for development of tolerance, some of the qualities that may be the socio-personal qualities. So the qualities like tolerance and respect for other cultures. One example, lastly, I'll give one example. So that is the real incident happened with the students, and how I have controlled that situation, I'll tell you. So with this regard, tolerance and respect for other cultures also is very much required. So the teaching learning, when we concern about the classroom process or outside of the classroom process, the teaching learning strategies should be based on the spirit of cooperation. So if we look forward towards the strategy like group method and group methods of instruction, it should be encouraged, as these provide as opportunity to the students to work in groups. We promote the group learning than the individual learning. So the day has been changed in the school process. So as per NEP 2020 also, um, group learning is more effective than the individual learning. So that is why the teaching learning strategies should be based on the spirit of the cooperation, and group methods of instruction should be encouraged, as this provide as opportunity to the students to work in groups. So to understand, not only to work within the group, but also understanding the members of the group and to resolve their differences and conflicts. So that maybe the training program, maybe the teaching program itself prepare the students to resolve the differences and the conflicts and any disputes between two groups or societies or cultures. But here again, the multiculturalism in teacher education institutions, it would help to develop the practical skills and observation, communication, and interpersonal relationship skill of the student teacher. If it is the educational institution, that is teacher education institutions, I am just excuse me, focusing on the teacher education institutions. In the teacher education institutions, we say to the students that is student teachers. So as NEP 2020 speaks about the promotion of art, culture, focusing on India is a trove of culture where people get the benefit from this cultural wealth, daily in the form of visiting India or visiting other countries for tourism and expressing Indian hospitality and purchasing India's handicrafts and man-made or handmade textiles, and reading the classical literature. Reading the classical literature also gives very good platform to know the other cultures, what lies in other culture, so what to adopt, what not to adopt. And you know, even practicing yoga also speak about the multicultural thing. And meditation also plays an important role for this multiculturalism and being inspired. Why I'm telling like so it is the multiculturalism, you know uh, being multiculturalism, it is inspired by the Indian philosophy, practicing India's uniqueness or uniqueness in different festivals, and appreciating India's diverse music and art, and watching Indian films amongst many other aspects also. So whatever I have said, it has been written these points like visiting India for tourism, expressing Indian hospitality, purchasing Indians or Indian handicrafts and handmade textiles, reading the classical literature, practicing yoga and meditation, being inspired by the Indian philosophy, and practicing India's unique festivals, and appreciating India's diverse music and art, watching Indian films, amongst many other aspects. So, multicultural education and teaching for diversity are the needs of contemporary times. And India is a culturally plural country, and prospective secondary teacher education or a teacher preparation program needs to focus on addressing the diversity in classroom and managing the schools from different cultural setup. So multiculturalism or multicultural placement of the student teachers aims at exposing them to different types of cultures, different types of schools, such as urban schools and schools of differently able children, and rural schools, with a view to develop the critical reflection about the activities of the schools, about the activities of the schools with different cultures and with different teaching learning process. So that different teaching learning process, and also different kinds of schools, along with the institute has to identify the suitable number of cooperating urban schools, rural schools, and tribal schools. So what is going on in rural schools, what is going on in urban schools, and what is going on in even tribal schools also, because we have to pay respect towards the indigenous knowledge. So indigenous knowledge is the part of this culture. So when we are talking about the indigenous knowledge, automatically everything was preserved by the culture. So that will come into the picture of all who is right now in the stage of modernization. So the NEP 2020, as well as if you go back to the NPE, National Policy on Education 1986. So 1986 also visualized education as an instrument of acculturating. The role of education means here education as an acculturating role. So that means education role is very much important for bringing the multiculturalism inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom setup. It refines the sensitivities and and perceptions that contributes to the national cohesion and a scientific tempo, and also independence of the mind. So that is very much required. Independence of mind is very much required, and spirit, spirit, and also spirit. What kind of spirit here? Here, spirit, that means spiritual, I mean to say, thus furthering the goals of socialism. So if you are practicing or sensitizing, and if we look forward the perceptions which will contribute to the national cohesion or scientific tempo. So it may be the goals of socialism, it may be the goals of secularism, it may be the goals of democracy, which enshrined in the constitution, because all the constitutional values also are there. Values, what I said, that it is coming under the culture, values, attitudes. So values uh, incorporated in now I'll say that values can be incorporated in the different subjects. So apart from subjects, there is the hidden curriculum where, so we can put this this kind of segment in outside. We can provide such kind of opportunity so that the learners will get the exposure towards the value based education, environmental education. So now NEP 2020 is focusing upon value based education and also environmental education, indigenous knowledge. All those kind of thing can be imbibed by the students. So through the textbook, through other materials, through the teaching learning process, and even outside of the classroom. So it is this cultural and natural wealth, and truly makes India, what I mean to say, that incredible India. As per India's tourism slogan, it speaks about the incredible India. So keeping in view of the importance of multiculturalism in educational institutions, the description of the role of different personnel is very much required. So some of the roles and responsibilities of the student teachers, that that is of the teacher educational institutions, even of the general college, or even from the school, because there is the linkage between the teacher education institutions with the school. And who are those personnel? So let's discuss the roles and responsibilities of student teachers. The student teachers can collect the relevant information for school observation. Student teachers, I'm telling, so they can, if I'm sending my students to the schools for observing the for observing the classroom process, for observing the classroom process, what kind of characteristics possessed by the teacher. Number one, maybe the classroom process, a transactional approach, and strategies, which strategies are followed by the teacher, and what are the aims of education, particularly the curriculum, then method of teaching, then what kind of teacher, then discipline, then student teacher relationship, and what is the relationship between teachers or HM and also with the community, how community based activities are undertaken in the school. So what is the linkage between two, school and community? So all this process, even outside of the classroom, what is happening. So if I'm sending my student teachers to the schools, so there they'll observe the school very minutely and will give the report to me. So along with that, the case study of their institution, and they'll share with other members also. So whatever they will prepare the report by observing, so they will share with other members of the schools. And if there is any doubt, the students may directly discuss with these schools. So then come to the role of principal or HM. So principal or HM can introduce the student teachers to the students and the staff of the school, and will give the timetable, which is approved timetable, and also plan of activities. So that has to be decided beforehand. So when the multicultural placement will happen, before that the timetable or approved timetable can be shared. Then the principal or SM can give a brief introduction about the school to the student teachers and also students during the first day of the interaction of the student teachers, and he or she can write the comments or can give the remarks, can give the suggestions for improvement of this kind of program. So if we conduct this kind of program in the name after multicultural placement program, either or multicultural education program or multiculturalism in the educational institutions, so I think it would be better. And then come to the role of cooperative teachers. So cooperating teachers also has some role. So cooperative teacher, with what kind of roles they must have? So they should help the student teachers to prepare the plan of activities, and they should guide the student teachers in carrying out the activities of the school very smoothly. So they can guide to the student teachers. Then they can give the feedback also very continuously for the improvement in the teaching and other curricular activity. Suppose the students, teachers, they will interact, and also they will take some classes in the in the classroom. So in the concerned class. So there also the cooperating teacher has to cooperate, has to guide, has to lead towards the good classroom environment to the student teachers. And finally, if you go for the role of the institute and the mentors, institute and mentors, or the supervisors, those who are in the original institute from where they are permitted, that is a principal school. So principal school can provide, or principal educational institutions or teacher education institution can give or can provide the necessary guidance and suggestions to the student teachers, and they can guide them in preparing a report on different activities. So in simple words, you can say the multicultural education is a reform to give the equal educational opportunity irrespective of race, social class, ethnic groups, and gender. So it follows a transformative approach. It transforms from one culture, and also it one culture, or from one generation to the next generation. So that is why it is preservative, and it can be conserved. And um, the core curriculum, if we study the core, what are those core curriculum? In the core curriculum also, the focus is being given to the cultural part. So culture, essential nurture national identity. Through this process, the national development can be happen so without any hesitation. So that is why multiculturalism has a bigger role, or I can say the great role for changing the culture. That means which can be adapted by the society. It is not like that every culture has to. I'm not telling that every culture has to. Culture means, so my respect towards each and every culture. It will be, if something is good, so we can accept it, we can adopt it. There is no issue, there should not be issue on it. So which can be accepted by the society, that will be, that should be accepted for the betterment of the society and betterment of the nation. And also at the international level, now also people they come from that means liaising among the countries are there. So cultural exchange is also there. So cultural exchange, in NCC, in NSS, all those kind of things are there. So youth exchange program, YEP. In NCC, we say that youth exchange program. That means youth exchange program. That means the cultural base of the youth here is the cultural exchange of thoughts. So cultural exchange of thoughts also required in preservation of the culture. So by putting the respect or paying the respect towards the other culture. So it is not like that we have the boundary, so we'll accept this culture and will not accept that culture. So it should not be happen, which is acceptable by the society, that uh, should be done, or that should be accepted by all for the betterment of the country, and also at the international level as a whole. So, can I right now? Time has approached. So, so this is what about I wanted to share with you. So, any thought is coming in your mind, or any question is coming from your mind, you can ask me if time permits, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Dear participants, the session is open for queries. If you want to ask any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for providing additional details regarding multiculturalism. And the session was so intense. We are grateful that you have spared your valuable time for us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. So, can I leave right now?
Yeah,
So
ma'am, sure.
any question from any participant? I'll be very glad to listen any question or to clear any query. Nothing is there? Okay. If nothing is there, it's well and good. So I thought that everything is clear in front of you. Am I correct? Any
Yes,
response from
ma'am.
the side?
Participants, if you have any doubts, you can clarify
Yes.
with me.
Either, or we can stop here.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Nothing. Okay. Okay. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Best wishes to all of you for
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
bringing the multiculturalism in the heart of everybody. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.